right. Well, I started the stream and then jumped the gun there. Appreciate you guys joining, but let me change my display here so it shows the other screen there. There you go. All right. So we are live. We got TikTok, YouTube. Yep, we're good to go. So first, let's talk about the SPY, where we're at. As you guys all know, I like to recap our trading day yesterday. So we're going to start with the 2-minute. Let's go find the open. You can see here, this is where, oh, that's Monday mark. I'm like, that doesn't look right. Yeah, that's right. There we go. All right, so there's the Tuesday market open right here. The Monday close. You can see we had our drop. We talked about this yesterday in the huddle as well as in the room, that we were looking a little bit more bearish. Just from some typical, it couldn't even break some basic trend lines, right, that we had drawn. We drew this out Monday. And so, we just collapsed through. One of the things that, as we were falling down here, we started to hold some support like this, right? And so this was actually a very strong pivot that we put out in the room yesterday. And I had told everybody, I said, look, we're going to probably hold this. We might break it like we did, right? I said that back here. But look to see if it actually can hold it, right? And so you can notice that we did try to break it. We reclaimed it. We broke it. We reclaimed it. We did have a little bitty trend line you can see right there. And so we did have one more little collapse. Bam, a show of support came through. We reclaimed it again. That typically shows, some extra support in there. So a lot of us in the room already took calls. You can see on the live trader, we actually had that range set, and it took that call, which played out really well. There was a lot of things that was coming through, and we were doing more learning moments in the room also while we were waiting for all this to play out. A few people took the puts, which was awesome. And then I know a bunch of people took the calls. So part of what we were doing while we were waiting for here is we were analyzing the actual overall market sentiment. So we had the bullish divergence showing up right here. So we knew that something was coming, right? Our indicator was showing that there's money coming back into the market. It just hasn't reflected on the actual price yet, right? And so that divergence was our first early sign. You can see we did get the long call from the Harmonic Tracker Pro, so we had that to verify. You can see the zone tracker had just a ton of support within that. And then the overall, if you were to take this replay, I always show people this, how we do it. So we're going to take the replay like this. And you can see on our gap fill sniper, right before we had pumped up, what we talked about is we're starting to get heavily bearish, right? Now, it didn't call an actual gap fill on here, but it was definitely getting heavily bearish. So we were kind of watching this range here. You can see, the POC was right there. So once we had broken that, right, is when it's going to flip. So as we were following the gap fill, you can see right there, right? I went too fast, but you can see, let me back it up just to show you guys. And I want to do this as a little bit of a TA / learning session for everybody, right? And so I wanted to show you kind of how we're analyzing our indicators. So bam, look at where this called bullish gap fill. So the gap fill sniper is amazing. It's probably one of our better indicators, but it actually had called saying, hey, we've been too bearish. So look at this. You have your divergence that is playing out. You had your long call we saw on the Harmonic Tracker Pro, and you have, hey, our gap fill saying bullish. Literally everything that we use in our room said we're going bullish. And look at, there it goes. So it was literally one of the easier plays if you're following the rules and you're staying disciplined on that. And so, and you can see actually up here, right, now it started to call the bearish gap fill, which we did have our pullback there. So before pumping back up. Now the gap fill sniper, remember you're using that to snipe, right? And so you can see it called the bearish, and then that was the fall that I was talking about. So, and so, the indicators just killed it, right? But my thing yesterday, guys, I was telling everybody on the SPY is to be careful of the push back north. The reason why is because if you go to the overall economic calendar thing for the FOMC today, they're anticipating they're not going to raise any interest rates, right? So although it's not a raise, which would be bearish, it's not they're not doing anything with it, right? So what I'm thinking is with the news, and this is kind of my thoughts on the news I want to spend some time with. Yeah, I'll definitely do NVIDIA. Is, I want you to think about that, right? We've continuously raised these rates regularly, and if they're not going to raise them today, if they don't raise them at 2:30 when he talks, they're going to talk about why they don't feel like they have to raise them, which could be more bullish sentiment than more bearish, right? Because they're going to probably say likely some positive words. The only thing that could throw this in a whole tiff is if A, they actually do raise it, B, they say, hey, we're not raising it now, but we're just going to not raise it, see how it goes, but we're anticipating it's pretty terrible. We're going to raise it still going forward, right? There could be some counter in that, so just be really careful. But my anticipation was that this was a squeeze. We had put out saying that there was actually more bullishness, and we did get that pump. So it was a great overall day. Y'all can see where we are in the pre-market. I don't have to show you that. Let's talk about. I'm gonna put it extended hours. Let's talk about where we go from here. So what I wanted to show you guys is this area here. 443.90 was kind of our pivotal area, right? So anything above this, we're likely to have a good push north. Anything below, we're likely to break back down. We do have continued bearish divergence on the extended hours, so you can see we have continuous lower highs here, but you're having higher highs here. So that is something to note, right? Now news can break through any of this TA, depending on how that news plays out. But the key levels that I'm going to probably watch today is going to be these prior highs. If this thing can break, right, on market open, these prior highs, then we want to start looking about where could it potentially reclaim. So if it can break this prior high here, that's also breaking what was once support, might be, or turned into resistance right here, right? So I'm going to put a line like right in between these, like right there, I'm going to say. And so that's going to be a pivotal line for me. And that's something I'm going to use when I'm determining possibly my my ATA. Now, I'm going to my live trader, what I'm going to tell you guys is, I know it's Wednesday, and normally I might be a little more aggressive on my settings on my live trader, but today's news, so we need to take that into account, right? Because when it moves, it can move in a very big way, and you don't want to get caught. Now, the beauty of our technology, it's not a limit buy. If you set let's say you set a put right here, right below this at 440.86, 444.86, if the news blows us, in a northern direction, it won't take that put. It only will take it if it comes back your direction, which is nice. So, but this is going to be a big one here because it's not a bad continuation area, right? So if you get above here, I would say like around 445, 40, 445, 40, 50, something like that is a good continuation zone, because if it breaks through these levels here, right, the next stop is like 447. So it could be a great setup for that continuation zone. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Now let's go back to, I'm going to take the gap fill off. Let's put the Bollinger in the zone. That's what I use for my EMAs and my SMA. So let's go in here. Starting to get a little too many lines in here that I don't like, but I'll clean those up in the room. So let's talk about where we're at here. So remember, we always talk about once we break above the SMA, that's where the volume comes from, right? So you had a rejection, 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 rejection. But notice that the candles were starting to shrink, right? And they weren't really getting any lower. That's what it's telling you that, hey, we're squeezing this and it's about to pop, right? And that's where it pops. You get the continued FOMO plays in, which blew us past this this critical line here. The anticipational read is that we're likely to come up at some point to retest this 200 EMA. Now, what I want to caution people with is there is something potential that I'm going to watch today. And if you take this right here, right, this could be a formation of your inverse head and shoulder, right? Which means that we would have a potential pullback. Now, most of you have been following me for a while know that whenever news comes out, typically the first direction is not the right one. So we may see a pullback right before, the news, and then have it come through like this, right? Have it come into, curl like this, and then have an explosion north, right? It's very possible. But this would be the next line that I would play. If you get above, 444.30, right, you're likely good to do some scalps up to 445. But as long as you stay below this line, I'd be really careful taking that call. I would say it's okay to take the calls because we are above that 21. I'm just, don't do it on these big green candles. Either wait for a push up and a pull back and then support, right? Take that call, or wait for it to pull back a little bit and retest maybe this 21, or even down here, right? Just give it, let it have some pullback. Don't chase. If you take calls on these candles right here, man, you're gambling. I mean, could it pay out? Sure. I mean, it's a news day, right? I mean, this thing could just blow through support. What I want to also touch on, and I know I'm spending extra time on this, but I get a lot of messages of people that don't know how to trade news. News trumps TA, but news has to. People rely on the news to push it past certain levels. And like we saw last time, the CPI news was bearish, but it was not bearish enough to push us past the levels. So what did that do? It flipped us bullish because people said, well, shoot, if we went way up on inflation, the news was that bearish, but we still couldn't break this support level, I'm taking a call. I see that as bullish, right? And so that's why in the room we actually called that bullish and we rode that wave up, right, north, where a lot of people were getting caught in the puts. So it could be the same thing today, right? If the news could come out pretty bullish and it could try to explode, I mean, we could reclaim this whole side right here, right, today, and then it could hit this and not actually break it, just hit in its tracks and then just absolutely collapse right back down. The news has to break certain levels or people won't believe that it actually is as bullish or as bearish as people think that it might be. So just some little tidbits on some news. I hope that helps you guys out on trading that. I'm looking at the SPY right now, the ETF. So that's kind of, hope that helps you out with the ranges, guys. As far as the SPY, how I'm going to trade that today, what I'm going to look for. Things change, right? Because it's news. We could, depending on what's said, the news could come out bullish at 2 o'clock, but then at 2:30, Powell can come out, or Yellen, can come out and say something stupid, right? And then all of a sudden we just tank. You got to be ready to pivot with the market. I mean, that's the one thing you'll learn when you're learning how to trade is that the market doesn't care what you think. You got to roll with the market. The market doesn't roll with you. So let's jump into the other ones. I think Tesla was the first ask, so let me do that one. Let's see what Tesla. I haven't looked at Tesla, I don't think, in a bit. So I'm going to look at my gap fill sniper. I've been leaning towards that one a lot lately. If you guys are using the gap fill, I was playing with it yesterday. I kind of like a little bit more localized settings of candles, which is 50-50. No, we were playing with that in the room yesterday. So I'm going to slowly kind of change those. All right, so let's look at a few things. Okay, so I wanted to get that there. So the first thing that stands out, this is why I wanted to look at this, is when you're looking at the gap fill sniper, if you have this indicator, we're slightly more bearish than bullish in the last 50 candles. There's a gap obviously right here. So if anybody knows how to trade these visible range profiles, those gaps is typically where you get these crazy candles. Notice each time that gap is hit, right, there's some crazy movements. And so it's at a key level. If we can break 268.50, right, because we're more bullish right now, it's likely that you're going to get a pretty explosive candle up to all the way to maybe 271. We do have, we talked about this yesterday. It's kind of ugly looking, but you could almost see this as a little bitty shoulder. You got your little head peak, right? And then this is what we call that scoliotic shoulder that CK said. That his words, not mine. And that actually ends up a more potential bullish, right? So for me, I'm looking at that as being bullish. Now I'm going to take this line here because we do have these two peaks there, and then I mean, really the neckline has already been broken right here. So if we come up, hit this, reject, retest that neckline as support, this is the breakout line I would watch. This one right here. If we close above this line, it's running. It's going to go. That's my thoughts on Tesla. 265 is something we marked a while ago. As long as it stays above that, we're fairly bullish. If we break below that, I would steer clear of the calls, and I would stay more put, because at some point, if we can't hold the 265 range, we're going to reclaim this side. at some point. And look at the larger pattern, right? Remember, so you got kind of, you know, the that pattern to where if you create another shoulder up here, 274, and it collapses, then that might be where that reclaim is. So that's what I would watch over the next, you know, few days, pretty much till Friday. We could see a push north and then a pullback and then the collapse. I mean, this is going to get reclaimed. Our gap fill even called it right there. So it's going to get reclaimed at some point. Let's see where the Harmonic Tracker Pro, it called the short. Hasn't called the long yet on the 1 hour, so be careful there. We called this and then the long there, so I would wait for that long call too. Zone Tracker is holding support here. The blue means what was once support was resistance at one point, and you can see, you know, right here's where it started as a resistance. And then here's support, so you can kind of double check that. We do have lower support here. Let's check the EMAs. So we are above the 200 still. We did break back above the 21, and this 21 is likely to do this, so I would anticipate a squeeze right here. So if it breaks this 21 on the 1 hour, then we're coming back down to this 200 at 262. If we break above this, then we're pumping probably into the 271 range. You addicted when 2 p.m. is too long to wait. What was the next one? NVIDIA. Hope that helps you out, Victor, on Tesla. At least giving you that that ranges. So NVIDIA, I believe it's on the same page. Yeah, I know what you mean, Epic. And I'm like, I'm done, right? Because the news is where it makes or breaks people. I mean, people either just, there's people that just trade the news, and you make so much money on just the news. But you can also trade the news and get wrecked. I mean, bad. You know, so it's scary if you don't know what you're doing. That's for sure. But if you know what you're doing, man, it's like it is money. So we're going to do the same thing here on NVIDIA. We'll start off with the gap fill. We're pretty balanced, actually, so it's starting to kind of balance out. Let's look at the 50-50 one and see how if it's still fairly balanced. Probably even more so because it's been going sideways. Actually, it shows us a little more bearish, right? Not quite a gap fill yet, but it's getting there. If we zoom in, the visible range is a little bit different than Tesla was, right? There's just a ton of trading going on in here. I mean, and it makes sense, right? You got your drop, your pump, your drop, so it doesn't quite have that gap for a big run. The only thing I will say is that, you know, we did have a bullish candle. We are creating higher lows here and a pretty strong show of support, actually. This was that support line, so we could see a potential pullback to that line still, but you know, there might be some upside first back to 443 range before that happens. Let's see. Just looking. Yeah, I would be careful taking calls up in this range, right? Because we could just be ranging. If you're going to take a call, it needs to either be above 443 or above this this trend line here, or I would wait for a pullback and take it somewhere in here or somewhere down here, right? Because you're either going to retest this line back here, or at some point we're going to come down to here. That would be your better call entries. As far as puts, I mean, you're clear to take a put. You know, anywhere from this 443, but I would wait for your bearish confirmation like this, right? Get your confirmation candle, plus a couple other indicators. The thing with NVIDIA, man, is it was hyped for so long, and you know, it's just been bleeding down. But even with our oscillation, if you think about it, from the crazy pump that we had here, it's holding pretty strong. I mean, we have our low, you have a higher low, and it's still holding a higher low. So if this line can't be broken and it comes in to squeeze this line here, you're going to probably see something else like this, you know, more of these, because of the fact that these are all FOMO, right? Everybody sees all these and then they think, oh, NVIDIA is the next one to jump on. We're in our room, we're trading more options than Forex right now. So, but the TA is the TA, right? Regardless what you're using. Um, and so let's take a look briefly at the harmonics. So I don't have a long call yet. We did get a 1-2. We did get that there also here too. Yeah, so we don't nothing looking pretty on the harmonics. The 21 the only thing I will say here is that looks, pretty good for a potential push north is the break above the 21, but it's got to hold it, right? See, even here, like it broke it and it couldn't break this 443 range, right? And so it collapsed again. So I would, you're right at the neckline. I mean, we might see a nice burst up retest on this line. My anticipation is if we burst to 443, it's going to likely collapse if it can't break it. If the news can push it enough through this, then it's going to explode north. So this would be a pretty pivotal line I would watch for NVIDIA. What time is it? 9:16. So I won't go past 9:15, guys. So I'm gonna do I'll do those two, Disney and AMD, and then I gotta go. But if you come into our room, guys, I'll do any ones that you guys want. I just have to keep these calls timely. So I don't chart Disney, so I'm gonna pull it up. I haven't even looked at Disney, so I'm gonna give you my first look thought. So my first look thought that I like to do is I'm gonna try to keep this as short and sweet as I can. But so my first thought that I like to look for is there a trend that I can follow for the upper and for the lower? So the first one that stands out to me without even having to really look is going to be obviously this. I don't like the lower yet, so I might go a little further out. Let's go to the daily. Man, I just don't like any of that. I mean, honestly, there's really no trend line, but what you could do is I would just, if I'm charting this, I'm going to mark that. I mean, you obviously have a heavy support here, heavy support here. There's really no great, you could do that. So if you pull way back here, right, there's a pretty clear line right like that. The 1 hour is showing that we were oversold and it's starting to possibly turn more bullish. We did get the short call and the long call on the indicator, but we did not get another long call yet. Let's look at the 21 and the 200. So we do have a death cross and we're below the 221. So the rules that I do is if I'm below this 21 like this, I'm not taking calls. So I would not take a call, but we are showing support, right? So if we break above this 21 and we get a little separation there, you could take a call on that. We are looking potentially inverse head and shoulder-ish though. So if it can hold, I would mark this level right here, this shoulder. If it can reclaim that and bust above this, right, then once you get up into the higher range, this is going to be where the true breakout is where you're going to mark that neckline. If it comes up into there, right, this pocket, this is where it would just absolutely run, right, and it would come back to here. So that's what I would watch. I mean, it's definitely in potential buy zone. I'd be really careful taking puts down here because there's just a lot of support. So hope that helps. AMD. As you see, I've already charted AMD. So quick look, having the EMAs, SMAs up. So we did have that bullish divergence. Here we created a higher low, right? So it's arguable that it's already kind of playing out. But we do have, this is a higher low. We have an equal here. So it might be forming some form of like a ascending triangle, right? And so I would look, the breakout would be around here. I wouldn't take any kind of calls unless we can break above, 10, I'd say 103. Then I'd be looking at more calls. But just be careful taking the puts right off of the 21 because if this continues to hold this support, we're coming back here to 104.95. So my put range that I'd be looking at would be somewhere around the 104.5 area, somewhere up here, or potentially off of this trend line right here. For me to take a call, I would prefer it to pull back down into here, right? And then you can take the call off the known support. Or I would really, honestly, I'd prefer for it to just really break this trend line. Let me see how strong this trend line is. Yeah. I don't know where I pulled it from. It's a little bit off. Let's never be afraid to trip your line. doesn't change that much. Yeah, so I mean it's only a 2 point trend line, but it's over some time, right? But on the 1 hour, you know, we're definitely heading north on the RSI, so which is good for that. So I'd be really careful on your puts there. Harmonics. Again, we had the short. It has a 1-2 no call, but we do have, like I said, this is looking potential reclaim of this side. So I would be really careful taking a put. I'm just not sure I would be comfortable taking a call quite yet, if that makes sense. I'm gonna look at the gap fill. Let's do the 50-50. So if you do the 50-50, we're pretty even. I mean, which makes sense because we've been just trading sideways. So nothing super clear on that. Yeah, no problem. Hope that helps you out. So I do have to spend the rest of the time on Live Trader. We got to jump into that. So let's cover the Live Trader, guys. This is the automated portion of our trading. We had set these ranges yesterday. And we were talking about them in the room. I was talking. I was trying to teach actually, and I remember I left for my internet, so I didn't get my put in there. But I was able to set this call. Played out really well. That was the one trade that I did with the Live Trader. Keep in mind with Live Trader, we only do 1 to 2 trades a day, depending how you set it up. If you can watch it and you want to be more aggressive, I mean, throw more in there, right? But this is my automation. This is what I set it, and I don't want to worry about it kind of trading. So we did good on that. So now what we want to do is these levels are from yesterday. They're pretty close to what we're going to see today. So I'm just going to leave those levels there. So based on these levels, you guys know the strategy I do on here is I like to set a call off of a pullback, a call on a continuation, and then a put. I do the similar, right? So we know the pre is up here. So we don't want to take a call anywhere up here necessarily. We would want to be pretty patient on it with the news, right? So for me, I'm okay taking a call off of this prior support here. So I'll probably mark that at like 442.75 would be my first call. I think I deleted my alerts. Yeah. So 442. So I'm gonna probably do 10 contracts today, guys, just with the news. I'm gonna live trade it, so that's why I'm not worried. So always remember Wednesday 0. Got to do it this way. Somebody yelled at me. I can't do 0. So Wednesday 0, Thursday 1, Friday 2. Right? That's how you always remember. I'm gonna keep covering that. So I'm gonna do 2-day contracts. We'll do 10 of them on my call. The news is at 2 o'clock. I'm just saying, I'm debating if I want. I'm gonna put it till 3, guys. I'm gonna allow it to take a trade till 3, but I'm gonna watch it. We're gonna keep an eye on it today. If I don't like how it's rolling, right, I might adjust that, and I'll put that in the room if I do. So I'm just changing my times. Preset, unless I change something midday, it's always the date and then 9:30. So we said 442.75. I think is what we said. We're gonna take 1 trade. I like the 0.5 strike price still, no DCAs, and I don't do the stop losses, guys. When you're doing options trading, I always tell people the contract is what I use as my stop. I mean, that's how I play it. If you want to do a tighter stop, that's fine. Manage your own risk. My risk, I'm okay with it because I know that if I get stuck, I can get out of it. And I know if I take a loss, right, on that whole contract, I've likely already earned it back, or I can earn it back. So I'm not too worried. So that's how I do mine. But so we have our range. I'm just going to move this line back up to where my range is there. And I'm going to change this to yellow. I like the yellow. All right, so let's go ahead and set the alert. And then now we're gonna go and do my put. So here's our first level of resistance. We're a little bit close to this, guys. So I don't know that I like that. Not in a news event. I'm just gonna look here briefly. And remember, we're thinking that it might be potentially more bullish. So I'm not going to be aggressive with my put right away. I'm going to put it up here somewhere. I'll probably do 445.85. I'm going to do that as my first put. So we have the 2. I'm still going to only do 10. That's fine. Let me change the date. 445. We'll say 85. There we go. And we add the alert. All right, and then, so now we want to look at continuations. Now, continuations on news are a little scarier because the news can push you really far in one way and then reverse it so fast, right? So I don't want to be overly aggressive on a news with my continuations. So I would definitely need to be above here. I'm going to find a kind of a midpoint between this one, right? Because this could be our third level of resistance, right? So we don't want to go too high into that. I think 446.70 could be good. I don't like to play the continuations too tight today, guys. I don't think I'm going to. I'm gonna do 447.60. Well, wait, if it breaks this upper resistance, then we'll play it. 447.60. There's no point in taking the unnecessary risk on that. 446.60. And then, and again, I may adjust it as the room goes on before the news. But you want to be confident with your TA in the news, but again, the news can change. So you don't want to be too overconfident because it can shift. So we're doing a call, 447.60. We're pretty far from that, right? So we might not even trigger this one, and I'm okay with that. Remember, the live trading, guys, the purpose of setting these ranges is you take 10 minutes in the morning, you set your ranges, and then you leave it. And, if you're not real aggressive, and let's say you didn't take a trade that day, I mean, does it really matter? You didn't stare at your charts all day either, which is great. Let's talk about continuation put. If the market were to absolutely tank, I'm going to put it outside of this range here. Probably, let me think here. Yeah, because we did 442.75. We're already going to take a put if it comes back. I'm sorry, that's our call, actually. So my worry is we could trade this pocket in a put at 442.25, and then that would give us enough room for this drop here. But I don't like making my continuation too close to that. So I'm actually going to go below this trend line, and we're going to put it at like 441. And then that gives us plenty of time to ride this down if it goes there. So again, we don't want to be too aggressive on it. So we're going to say put 441, 20. And those of you guys in the community, you guys know that there was some additional ranges put out there. I may adjust these. We'll talk about them in the room once we get in there, if you're watching. All right, so we got that. We got the one. I'm only doing one trade only, guys. I'll assess it after each trade, especially with news. Trading zone, I don't want really past 3 o'clock. Make sure you're on 1.05 too, because we did have an update for that. Good deal. So we're going to add that alert. What time is it? 9:20. So we got about 10 minutes till the market opens. Let's make sure all these alerts are on there. I should have 4 by the time we're done. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 calls, 2 puts. So we are set, guys. This is the automated trading portion. If you guys are interested in the automated trading, all you got to do is go to botjock.com right here and check it out. So I get a lot of side questions or even emails like, hey, what's your guys' Discord? We don't have Discord. This is our Discord. We created our own Discord within the website. It's a lot more secure, and you don't have to worry about being scammed from people because we don't allow that on the website. So appreciate you guys' time. I got 10 minutes, so I got to open the room so we can discuss it in the community. If you guys want to come in, all it takes is an email to sign up. It's funny. I get people on TikTok that'll say, "Man, I'm kind of interested, but I wish I could see it more or learn more. Or I don't know anything. I have questions." I mean, that's why we open the room. Anybody can come in to the room. All you have to do is just be a member of BotJock, which all you need to be a member is just have an email. We charge mostly for our products, not for our education for the most part. So I appreciate you guys' time, and I'm going to end the community here.